What's going on, guys? It's Tomo Talks and Wrestling, and today we're going to be checking out TNA's first ever pay-per-view and seeing whether or not it was good or whether or not it was bad. But before we get into it, I just want to first say I'm sorry for my uploads being really inconsistent as of late. I'm going to address that in a video soon because I've got a lot going on in my life in terms of school and whatnot, but we'll talk about that soon. But be sure to subscribe with notifications on and like the video. If you want to watch this pay-per-view in full, it's literally on YouTube for free, posted by Impact. So I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch it. I feel like this review might determine whether or not you want to watch it. So first of all, this show just looks completely like WCW in terms of the opening sequence, the graphics, the pyro. It has a whole fire theme to it. It just looks like WCW, and the announcers for tonight are Don West, Mike Tenay, and Ed Ferrara, and we start off the show by introducing some legends of the NWA because, of course, this is NWA TNA, so we see people such as Harley Race, Dory Funk Jr., Jackie Fargo, and Bullet Bob Armstrong. All the stars come out, they stand in the ring, and then out comes Jeff Jarrett. He starts mouthing off to the legends, and he says that tonight he will win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in the Gauntlet for the Gold match. But then out comes Ken Shamrock to a huge pop. Shamrock says Jarrett will not be whipping his ass. Then next up, Scott Hall comes out, and he just says, "Hey yo," and he says to Shamrock to try focus on beating Hall. And then we cut backstage to Psycho Dwarf, who apparently has something to say, and he says he wants to see some midget blood. Okay. For our first match of the evening, we see AJ Styles, Low Key, and Jerry Lynn versus the Flying Elvises, made up of Jorge Estrada. Jorge, did I say that right? I mean, whatever. Sonny Siaki and Jimmy Yang. Basically, the Flying Elvises are Elvis impersonators. And despite the goofy gimmick, all three of these guys are actually really good wrestlers. So the Elvises attack before the match starts, and we get right into it. This match is very fast right out of the gate, a very exciting first minute with lots of top rope moves and very quick sequences and combinations. All six of the guys in this match are on fire, and throughout this match, the commentary are hyping up these guys as members of the X Division, and are just doing the worst job of explaining what the X Division is. I mean, they keep saying the X stands for Extreme, which is very misleading for their first show, because then it just sounds like it's a hardcore / deathmatch division. Yeah, this match was really fun, and it never really slowed down. Really good stuff from all six people in the match, and the finish sees Jimmy Yang pinning AJ Styles with a twisting corkscrew moonsault. I'm going to give this match 3.5 stars. It was about 8 to 9 minutes long, but throughout all of it, it was very exciting and very fun. And it's very interesting to note that AJ Styles was pinned in his debut TNA match and would then go on to become, arguably the greatest star in TNA history. The next match is introduced as a midget match, and we see Hollywood versus Tio, who I have no idea who either of them are. This match was very short, no pun intended, genuinely. It was literally 3 minutes long and a bit sloppy at times. I'm giving it 0.5 star. It wasn't good enough or long enough to get a good rating, but Tio wins the match with a swanton bomb. I will say I've got absolutely no problem with dwarf wrestling being on the show. I think, However, it is a bit risky to do a match like this on your very first show because this is something that's quite divisive and will probably split fans down the middle. Personally, I don't have a problem with it. I think everyone deserves to be able to wrestle no matter what size you are. But yeah, as many fans would have a problem with this. But yeah, so a bit risky to do it on your first show. But yeah, 0.5 star, not really that amazing. Next up is the Johnsons versus Psychosis and James Storm. This is another fairly short match, only about 7 minutes, which is a bit of a theme with this show other than the main event. And it's in this match that I noticed there is a Wrestling Observer sign, which is very random. A woman called Alicia comes out, who was in WCW back in the day. She just kind of watches the match from the side and doesn't really do anything, and nothing's really said with her. But James Storm looked really impressive in this match, and I imagine this was a lot of people's first exposure to him. The Johnsons do ultimately get the win. I'm going to give it 1.25 stars. Again, this match wasn't really long enough to warrant getting a good rating. And apparently with Alicia, she was doing this whole storyline where she'd come out and would be talent scouting, but it never went anywhere because she left the company very soon after. Some random NASCAR jabronis come out, start talking on the mic, which brings K-Crush, aka R-Truth, out, and he starts smack talking them. He's about to beat them up, but then Brian Lawler, aka Grandmaster Sexy of all people, makes the save, and a match between Truth and Lawler is made for next week. And I know people say this all the time, but R-Truth really hasn't aged. Like, it's actually ridiculous. Like, how does the man do it? Next up, we have Christian York and Joey Matthews, aka Joey Mercury, against Stand Up and Bowed Up. And again, just a super short match. This one was literally 3 minutes. But I will say, for the 3 minutes it lasted, the action was pretty alright, and it definitely could have gone a lot longer. But the Dupps score the win with a roll-up and grabbing of the tights. Joey Matthews, obviously, he's Joey Mercury. He'd go back to WWE with the Straight Edge Society and Eminem and J&J Security. And Christian York would reappear about 10 years later in TNA in Gut Check and actually be signed once again to the company. Yeah, I'm going to give it 1.5 stars. We then get a live performance from Toby Keith, who was cut short by Jarrett walking into the ring to begin the Gauntlet for the Gold match. So yes, our next match is the 20-man NWA World Heavyweight Title Gauntlet for the Gold match. The Gauntlet for the Gold match is essentially a Royal Rumble. People enter every 90 seconds, but when it gets down to the final two, it turns into a regular one-on-one match where you can only win by pinfall and submission. So number 1 is Jeff Jarrett, and number 2 is Buff Bagwell. Buff Bagwell is the first eliminated as he runs at Jarrett and gets thrown over the top rope. Number 3 is Lash LaRue. He comes out, Jarrett beats the crap out of him, and he eliminates Lash in about 45 seconds. Lash pretty much got destroyed. Number 4 is Norman Smiley. Jeff low blows Norman and eliminates Norman, who lasted about 60 seconds. And at this point, Jeff Jarrett is the Royal Rumble 2020 Brock Lesnar. Number 5 is Apollo. He gets the closest to eliminating Jarrett and managed to stay in until number 6. And number 6 is K-Crush, of course, R-Truth. Number 7 is Slash. Number 8 is Del Rios, not Alberto Del Rio, Del Rios, and the ring is starting to fill up now. Number 9 is Justice, and this is very early on in his career, but Justice will later go on to become Abyss. Number 10 is Conan. We're halfway through the entrance, and I will say, Conan came out, and for the 2 minutes of action that he got in, he looked really great. Number 11 is Joel Gertner. Well, I thought it was Joel Gertner, but he was just coming out to introduce Bruce. Number 12 is Rick Steiner. He comes in and eliminates Slash and then eliminates Justice. Number 13 is Malice. He chokeslams everyone and then eliminates Bruce, K-Crush, Del Rios, and Conan in very quick succession before scoring an elimination on Rick Steiner. So he's came in and got 5 eliminations immediately. Number 14 is Scott Hall. Number 15 is Toby Keith, who was the guy who was performing before, and now he's looking for revenge on Jarrett. He's not a wrestler, obviously, but he gets in there and hits him with a suplex, and then Toby Keith and Scott Hall team up to eliminate Jarrett. He then leaves the ring to beat up Jarrett some more. Number 16 comes out, it's Chris Harris, and then Vampire Warrior, aka Gangrel, comes out immediately after for whatever reason. But as it turns out, Toby Keith wasn't actually an entrant. So Chris Harris is number 15 and Vampire Warrior is number 16. Toby Keith wasn't an entrance. Commentary does not make this clear whatsoever. Like, not at all. They're just as confused as me. Number 17 is Devon Storm. Number 18 is Steve Corino. Number 19 is Ken Shamrock. And number 20, the final entrant, is Brian Christopher, who eliminates Chris Harris, Devon Storm, Vampire Warrior, and Steve Corino fairly quickly. So Brian Christopher getting the big man treatment. Ken Shamrock then eliminates Brian Christopher, and we're down to Shamrock, Scott Hall, Apollo, and Malice. Malice eliminates Apollo after Hall and Apollo try to double team him, and then Malice goes on to eliminate Hall, who was setting him up for the Razor's Edge. So we're down to Malice and Ken Shamrock, who will have a one-on-one match where Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, of all people, is introduced as the referee. They have a pretty okay match. The crowd are firmly on Shamrock's side, and of course, he ultimately picks up the win by pinfall to win the NWA World Heavyweight title. I'm going to give this match 2.5 stars. Right down the middle, the action in the match itself wasn't too exciting. The entrants were fairly underwhelming. I mean, other than who like Chris Harris and K Crush. I didn't really pop for anyone. Like, there wasn't really anyone too notable in this match. My overall rating for the first ever TNA pay-per-view is gonna be 2 stars. This wasn't really that great of a pay-per-view. I mean, after WCW folded, many companies out there, many wrestling companies had these one-off shows that drew very big attendance, got big stars, but they never really followed up on them, and they remained one-off shows because they weren't that amazing. So it's very surprising considering that TNA would go on to continue and become fairly successful despite how lackluster this first pay-per-view was. It's quite interesting. But yeah, you can watch this entire pay-per-view for free on YouTube. Like I said, Impact Wrestling channel has posted it, so I'll leave a link in the description if you want to watch it after this review. Maybe you don't. But anyway, leave a like on the video, subscribe with notifications on. I'll see you all soon. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.